The United States government is on the brink of shutting down as lawmakers in Washington grapple with yet another high-stakes funding crisis. With just hours left on the clock, the House of Representatives has failed to pass a revised spending plan, throwing the nation into political uncertainty. On Thursday night, a Trump-endorsed Republican spending bill aimed at preventing a shutdown was voted down. The bill, which required a two-thirds majority to pass, saw 38 Republican lawmakers breaking ranks and joining most Democrats in opposition. The defeat comes after President-elect Donald Trump rejected a previous bipartisan deal negotiated by Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson and Democratic leaders. The Trump-approved alternative proposed tying government funding to a controversial 2-year suspension of the federal debt limit, a move that House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries dismissed as laughable. "This is no way to govern," Jeffries declared, criticizing the lack of bipartisan cooperation. Now, with the clock ticking, Speaker Johnson must return to the drawing board and rally his fractured party to find a viable solution. But how did we get to this point? This crisis dates back to September, when Congress faced another budget deadline. At that time, Speaker Johnson failed to pass a 6-month funding extension due to resistance from Democrats. That extension included a controversial measure requiring proof of citizenship to vote, known as the SAVE Act. In its place, lawmakers agreed on a bipartisan stopgap measure to fund the government until December 20th. Johnson assured his Republican colleagues they wouldn't face another massive, last-minute spending package during the holiday season. But fast forward to this week, and Congress is grappling with a sprawling 1,547-page bill that aims to extend government funding until March 14th. The proposed package includes over $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion in aid for farmers, the first pay raise for lawmakers since 2009, and funds to rebuild a collapsed bridge in Baltimore. It even features reforms in healthcare and consumer protection against deceptive advertising in hotels and event venues. However, many Republicans expressed outrage, accusing Speaker Johnson of caving to Democrats by including left-leaning provisions in the bill. However, another side of the story is that of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. With the government on the verge of shutting down, their actions have further complicated efforts to keep it running. Elon Musk, now co-leading the Department of Government Efficiency under Trump's guidance, launched a relentless campaign against Speaker Mike Johnson's proposed deal. Using X, Musk lobbied against the bill, describing it as outrageous and even making false claims about its provisions. His online criticism quickly gained traction, rallying opposition among conservatives. Musk's push was the precursor to a decisive blow delivered by President-elect Trump and incoming Vice President J.D. Vance, who issued a joint statement on Wednesday night. Trump and Vance criticized Johnson's deal, calling it a betrayal of the country. They demanded streamlined legislation that stripped out Democratic-backed provisions, limited funding to disaster relief, and raised or eliminated the debt ceiling. By Thursday, Johnson introduced a revised, stripped-down bill, but despite his efforts, the legislation failed to gain traction in a late-night vote. With less than 24 hours remaining before a government shutdown, Congress was at a standstill. So, what's next? Lawmakers are set to reconvene Friday morning with the clock ticking. Johnson faces an uphill battle, not just against Democrats, but within his own fractured party. "You break the bipartisan agreement, you own the consequences," Jeffries declared, refusing to back any new proposals from Johnson. Some Democrats even mocked Elon Musk's growing influence in the Republican Party. Representative Rosa DeLauro quipped on the House floor, "President Musk said, 'Don't do it, shut the government down,'" drawing laughter from her colleagues. For Johnson, the challenge ahead is daunting. Securing Democratic support is critical, but anger within his own Republican ranks is simmering. Meanwhile, Musk's outsized role in shaping GOP strategy has left some wondering who's really steering the ship, because the consequences are far-reaching. Federal agencies rely on annual budgets to function, but when Congress fails to pass the required spending bills, these agencies are forced to discontinue non-essential operations. Essential services, like border protection, air traffic control, and law enforcement, will continue, but not without consequences. Employees providing essential services will remain on duty but without pay. Meanwhile, other federal programs will cease to operate. Social Security checks will still go out, but verification and card issuance will pause. The Food and Drug Administration will stop food safety inspections. National parks will close, disappointing millions of visitors. The impact could be devastating for vulnerable Americans. Programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program may experience delays, threatening access to food assistance for struggling families. And this is just the beginning. A prolonged shutdown would stretch these disruptions further, harming countless Americans. While the potential effects of a shutdown are troubling, the political repercussions for Republicans could be just as severe. Thursday's vote vote was the first significant test of Donald Trump's sway over congressional Republicans. While many rallied behind him, 38 broke ranks to oppose the Trump-backed spending plan. For House Speaker Mike Johnson, the stakes couldn't be higher. In just 15 days, the House will vote on its leadership for the next Congress. What once seemed like a secure position for Johnson is now in doubt. The GOP's internal divisions aren't new. Just last year, Kevin McCarthy endured 15 rounds of ballots before securing the speakership. Less than a year later, he was ousted by his own party for failing to cut spending and for cooperating with Democrats to prevent a shutdown. Now, Johnson faces similar scrutiny, with several Republicans already signaling they won't support his continued leadership. Johnson's position is precarious, with a slim majority of just 5 seats. This is a defining moment for Speaker Johnson. The outcome of these negotiations could determine his speakership and the GOP's ability to govern effectively in the future. Compounding Johnson's troubles is the influence of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Their vocal opposition to bipartisan deals has left Republicans navigating a precarious political landscape. The clock is ticking, not just on the government shutdown, but on the Republican Party's unity and its leadership. As the nation inches closer to a government shutdown, the stakes couldn't be higher for everyday Americans, federal workers, and the future of congressional leadership. At the heart of this crisis lies a profound question. Can Washington rise above partisan gridlock to serve the people it represents, or will political divisions continue to overshadow the nation's needs? The choices made in the coming days will define not just this legislative session, but the credibility of those in power. While the effects of a shutdown will be felt across the country, the battle within the GOP may leave lasting scars on its ability to govern. The clock is ticking, and the consequences are clear. Will Congress find a path forward in time, or will this moment be remembered as yet another failure of leadership in a deeply divided government?